Hey there, fellow comic book fans. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today, as promised, I'm back with part 3 of my look at my complete run of Conan the Barbarian. Now, a couple things real quick. Where are we in the series? Well, in part 1, we showed off issues 1 to 24, the classic Barry Windsor Smith era. In number 2, the second part, we showed off issues 25 to 57. And that was the beginning of the John Buscema run. And we ended with 57 because, of course, with 58, we've got a whole new era and a big key here, issue 58, the first appearance of Belit, Queen of the Black Coast. Now, I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a moment. I also just wanted to mention, of course, that one of the reasons I'm going through all my fantasy comics right now, and I love these fantasy comics, is because my fantasy comic quest currently live on Kickstarter. So, I'm not going to talk a lot about that. I've been doing that for a while here. I think most of you know what's going on with my fantasy comic quest. But if somehow you've missed it, you can check in the link down below, and you can click on the link to check out my Kickstarter for quest number 4, because it's heavily inspired by these comics, by Bronze Age sword and sorcery stuff like Conan, Warlord, Red Sonja, and of course Dungeons and Dragons. So hopefully you'll like that. Now, I will say I've read some of these issues. I haven't actually read the whole run. Even though I own the complete run of Conan, and this is an all-time classic, I haven't read all of the issues that I'm showing you because I haven't quite read all of the issues that come before it. At some point, I'm going to sit down and read them all in order, particularly the first 115 issues, because that issue 115 is where Roy Thomas leaves. But we're going to talk about that in the next video, because today we're going to be doing the Belit storyline from Conan number 58 to number 100. Now, as I just said, I haven't read all of them, so I won't necessarily have a ton of stuff to say about all of them, but I still want to show you these awesome books because they're just pure classic Bronze Age comics. Like, when I think of the Bronze Age, this is one of the books I think of. Everything about the logo, just the feel, the art. It's everything that I love about the Bronze Age. And we're still in the 25-cent era, mid-1970s at this point. And it's just, again, just one of my absolute favorites. And this is a great cover. First appearance of Belit, Queen of the Black Coast. She immediately becomes an important, ongoing, supporting character. The cover here says, "At last, by popular demand, Conan's fiercest foe, the she-devil Belit, Queen of the Black Coast." But of course, in addition to being his fiercest foe, he's also the love interest. They become lovers. She's like his one true love. And they have this great partnership that runs through up through issue 100. So there's so many great action covers here by John Buscema with Conan, of course, but also with Belit and the two of them teaming up. Here's issue 59. Here's issue 60, Riders of the River Dragons. Some great colors going on this cover. You know I love my yellow covers, but this has the great sort of gradient and this sort of like sunset in the swamp sort of feel. And I absolutely love the atmosphere of this cover. It's so great. 61, The Night of the Killer Moth. Interesting. So take a look at this cover. Belit's being taken away by a giant moth, and Conan's jumping up there. It almost looks to me, look, Belit's got her hand back like she's gonna punch the moth. The way it's posed, it looks to me like she originally was drawn with a sword in her hand, and for some reason they decided to take that out. Now, there's a few covers here where she's sort of the damsel in distress, but even when she's being in that role, she's very fierce. So even though she's being taken off, she's fighting back. A lot of the Conan women on the covers are not fighting back, and he's rescuing them. Here, Belit, though, she's always at least fighting, so I appreciate that. 62, for instance, has got a character who's not really fighting back. Death in the Land of Dagon. So this is part of the ongoing storyline here. Dagon comes back a number of times here over the course of this run. We're going to see more covers of Dagon later. 63, At Last. Death Duel with Amra, Lord of the Lions. Is this something everyone's been waiting for? Well, if you've been reading the series, I guess. While in the nighted depths of the earth, Belit must battle the dwellers in darkness. Which they also managed to fit in here on the cover. So here's Belit down here fighting the dwellers in darkness, while the main thing is up here. Again, I haven't really read these, but I can tell you that this lion guy, there's a theme. We see more lions during this section. So we're going to see more covers later on with lions. So you can see sort of, you can see the influences that Roy Thomas is drawing on from Robert E. Howard. He's sort of doing a remix here. But there's some clear, certain characters, certain tropes recurring over the course of this here. 64 Fiends of the Feathered Serpent. We got another sort of Conan and Belit fighting side by side against a horde. '65 Rage in a Land Beyond Time. Another Belit cover. 66, here we go. The Wrath, the Rage, the Revenge of Dagon, the God of Death. So here's another Dagon cover, 66. 67, it's not Belit. It's another sort of damsel being rescued here. Tara, where are you, girl? She's in here, barbarian. Come and get her. It's interesting. Something about this looks sort of more Gil Kane to me, but John Buscema is doing the interiors, but I don't think he's doing a lot of these covers. Some of them, like 64, he clearly was doing. This doesn't feel like his work, though. This looks more like Kane to me, but if it is Kane, someone's being very heavy with their own inking style over it. 68, now this is interesting. 68, face to face with his greatest, deadliest foe, King Kull. Yes, at last, it's Conan meeting King Kull. What's weird about this is, if you read this little blurb down here, it says, once in a lifetime wonderment plus Red Sonja and the She Pirate Belit. What's weird about this is that this is a crossover story with Red Sonja. So if you're reading the Red Sonja ongoing series that was coming out at the time, I can't remember if it was actually her ongoing or she had a series in Marvel Feature that ran 7 issues and then she got her own series that ran 15. So I don't remember whether it's technically Marvel Feature, but anyway, in whichever version it was, in her ongoing series, there's a crossover, like a legit crossover where you have to buy both series because the story goes from one into the next. And it crosses over here with Red Sonja, and yet there's just this tiny little blurb. Red Sonja is not on the cover. It doesn't tell you, like, go read Red Sonja or whatever. And so I think it would be very easy to miss, and that feels like something they would want to hype. Yes, Kull also had his own series at the time. And I haven't read the King Kull stories. I think this is some kind of magic dream sequence sort of thing. Maybe they were doing a 3-way crossover, and I just don't know it, where the Kull stories, in those he had a dream with his version of this fight. I don't think so, though. It's just weird to me that Red Sonja is not on the cover of a crossover with Red Sonja. I also have the sense that Red Sonja would be a bigger selling point than Kull at this point and at pretty much every point. But I could be wrong. Some of you who are maybe a little more familiar with... I used to have a complete run of Kull and I never got around to reading it before I sold it. So those of you who have read Kull, maybe you can fill me in, or those of you who are buying at the time. But I get the sense from reading and just collecting these issues that even at the time Red Sonja was a much bigger draw. It's just weird to me that she wasn't on the cover of a crossover and it wasn't billed as a crossover on the cover. Anyway, enough about that. Here's issue 69. You can see I paid $1.50 for this and it's in nice condition. All of these were like $1. $1.50. I didn't pay more than that for any of the issues in this run at all. I mentioned that last time, but issue 37, I think it is, has a Neil Adams cover that I paid $5 for. After that, between, that issue and like issue 2, like 70, I didn't pay more than a $1.50 or maybe $2 for any issue in the run. That may have changed a little since then, but not much, I don't think. So you can get some absolutely great Bronze Age fantasy, very cheap. This again looks to me like a classic Gil Kane pose. Oh, this one actually is signed Kane and Marcos. So Pablo Marcos is doing the inks, and it really covers up the sort of Gil Kane. Like you can tell by the layout if you've seen enough Kane covers and the poses and the perspectives, right? That it's Kane, but the Pablo Marcos, his inking is heavy over this to really sort of cover it up. And that seems to be the team on, a lot of these are actually Gil Kane covers, and they have very sort of heavy inking, because Kane has such a distinct inking style. This next one's Pablo Marcos, issue 70. And this is one that I wouldn't necessarily have tabbed as Kane. But I do love this sort of... one thing that is Kane-like about it is the composition with all the people in the foreground. And I love the different layers and the different body positions of all the people. Like people that are sort of blocking part of your view of the action. And like they really feel surrounded. And it makes you feel like you're part of the group surrounding them. So that's very Gil Kane. I love that sort of composition. I just love the composition of this cover. I do think it could probably be colored in a way that's a little more exciting. But here's another Kane cover. But this one is Ernie Cologne, looks like, on the inks. And so it's very different inking style from the last cover, much closer to Kane's own style, but sort of heavier and sketchier. And I was saying heavy with the Pablo Marcos, and I guess what I meant by that isn't like the weight of his actual lines. It's just that his inking style overwhelms the Gil Kane, if that makes sense. Whereas in this case, it's actually sort of a heavy, thick sort of inking on it. But some really great covers here. Here's another Gil Kane with Ernie Cologne on inks. And another cover with Belit side by side with Conan. This is issue 72. We get another one here. Mighty Sword versus Monstrous Sorcery. He waits below in the Well of Skelos. Of course, that's a classic Conan thing. Is Conan, the really strong guy with the sword, fighting these sorcerers who are like the really smart guys who use magic. And of course, Conan always wins. It's a little bit of sort of like a jock fantasy, I guess, of getting one over on the smart kids. I don't know. But another really cool cover with Conan and Belit fighting side by side. Another yellow cover. Here we've got 74. 100 feet of fangs and fury, the serpent from the river Styx. Again, what I was mentioning earlier, like Belit is sort of in the role where she would traditionally be the damsel in distress. Like the serpent's coming up and is going to eat the woman that Conan has to save. But as you can see, she's about to chop this thing up with her own sword. Does she really need Conan there? Hard to say, but I like that about the way they treat this character. 75, we got the first part of a couple issues with the Hawk God Saga. Now, this is pure Ernie Chan, or Chua, but it's listed as Chan on here. And no Gil Kane. 75, 76, you Stygian dogs worship this great stone hawk god. Well, now he is yours. 76. 77. This is Kane. It's got sort of a classic Kane composition where the person's sort of in the extreme foreground and you're looking like through their legs. 78. Now, see, this has a big thing hyping that is Red Sonja, and Red Sonja is on the cover, but this is actually a reprint. It's reprinting the Red Sonja story from Savage Sword of Conan #1, which was originally in black and white. So here it is in color in issue 78, but it is a reprint, and longtime viewers will know how much I dislike dirty reprints. So I don't know if that was the dreaded deadline doom or why they did a reprint there, but 79, all new, The Eye of the Serpent God set. Is it truly but a jewel, or will it doom a lost city? Now this is Buscema with Ernie Colon on inks. Number 80. This has a date stamp on it, but it's stamped in a place that's hard to see. So let me see if I can. I think it's 77, September 15th, 1977. So at the time I'm recording this, it's almost exactly what is that, 47 years after this would have been on the stands. Some kid would have bought this. There's number 80. 81, the final battle for the awesome Eye of the Serpent. Okay, here's one I actually paid a little more for, $3.50. I must have been out of my tree the day I bought this to spend that kind of money on this. Or it's also possible that I had credit, store credit, because sometimes I'll bring in stuff to trade. And when I'm using store credit instead of money, sometimes I'll splurge on something like a $3.50 issue of Conan. 82. Now this looks like a Buscema, and it is. Just the way the figures, particularly the female figures, drawn, it's very John Buscema. 83. Beneath the bog waters lurk the man-dragons. 84. Okay, now this is a key, actually. This is a key issue. 2 against the Hawk City. So we're back to Hawk City, which we just saw. Again, there's a lot of things that are carried over and so come back around a lot. So you've got sort of a set of characters and settings. A lot of stuff is set. Dagon, Lion stuff, which we're going to get back to. Hawk stuff. But here it's 2 against the Hawk City, introducing Zula, swordsman and sorcerer, and one mighty warrior. In this issue, Big John Buscema returns. So I guess he'd been gone for a while. Like I said, haven't read all the interiors. But Zula's a recurring character who comes back quite a lot, actually, in Conan and in Savage Sword of Conan. So Zula's kind of an important supporting character. Important enough so that in the next issue, 85, we get the origin of Zula. One thing I want to mention about issue 85. So here's issue 84. You can see that. And then we have issue 85. Look how much larger the font is for the number 85, which I love. Now, when you get to 86, they've toned it down a little bit. 86, 87, 88 have slightly smaller than 85. And then it shrinks back down to the size it was before. I like the bigger numbers. Here's 86. I like the big numbers, so I wish they had kept that. Conan and Zula battle a monster spawned in hell. 87. Still has the bigger numbers up there. 88. Now this is exciting. We've got the whole team together. Belit is back, battling the hordes of hell alongside Conan and Zula. So we got these 3 together. Really cool, dramatic cover. The only thing I don't like about this is a little bit with the coloring. Yeah, they're backlit by the flames, but I think they're a little too backlit. I would have calmed down a little on the shadows sort of covering them, because it makes it muddy for me personally. But a really cool cover. 89, featuring the malevolent menace called Tothamon. Number 90. Cavern of the Giant Kings, and Conan is saying, this looks like Buscema for sure. I don't see why there's an ancient curse on this place, Belit. There's nothing here but a bunch of rats. So this cover is is funny to me because it's a classic DC war comic design, including Conan saying this stuff. Conan doesn't really talk on these covers that we've been going through, right? Once in a while. But rarely says anything on these covers, and yet when he's talking, it's to say something dopey like this, where the guy's about to grab him and Conan's oblivious. It just feels like a very strange fit for Conan, but it is funny because it's very much like something Joe Kubert would be doing over in the pages of Sergeant Rock, you know. So that cover sort of stands out to me because of that. Fangs of the Swamp Rats, rodents of unusual size. Frankly, I don't believe they exist. 92, Conan the Barbarian versus the Thing in the Crypt. An all-new tale of Conan's youth. This is interesting because you can see Conan's youth is that he's wearing his outfit from the first couple issues of the series. But the way he's drawn is much sort of thicker and heavier, stockier than he was in those issues, right? So they've given him the costume, the outfit from when he was younger, but they've drawn him like he's still older and more filled out. But it's still a cool cover. 93. Now we're getting into the home stretch here of this ongoing sort of overarching arc of the series. Behold Belit. Here's Conan talking, but he's not sounding like a dope. Behold Belit, she who was once queen of the Black Coast and now is empress of Asgaloon. And you can see that Zula is also still with them. So here is Conan declaring Belit the empress of Asgaloon. Okay, we got some lions. Now this looks like it's a different guy. It's the Beast King of the Black Coast, but we've got another guy with a bunch of lions. And I think part of the reason the lion theme may be recurring is because if I'm remembering, I'm blanking, I'm very old right now. But one of Conan's titles is that he's the lion of somewhere or other. I forget where, I'm sorry. Aquilonia, something like that. But he's the lion of something is one of the accolades that he gets later in his life. So I guess it makes sense to bring some lions in here. Claws of the Cave Creature. Conan fights alone against the hordes of the Beast King Abombi. So here he is fighting some kind of dinosaur thingy. 96 is the cool cover with a lion on it. Now, this is from 1978. It's cover dated March of 79, but so it came out like December 78. This is around the time where Buscema is somewhere around this time is also doing Tarzan, because this very much feels like a Tarzan cover. He's got this black lion with him. 97. In final battle with the Beast King. So here's a cool cover where Conan is actually chained to the sacrificial altar and about to be killed, and it's Belit that's coming to rescue him. So we got a role reversal here. 98. Sea Witch. Is she maid or monster? Conan must find out or die. Guessing she's monster. I haven't read it, but I'm pretty confident. 99. Conan and Belit alone against the man crabs of the Dark Cliff. And then finally we have the big issue number 100, which is the culmination of all of this stuff here, the whole Belit, with this famous Paeta cover, all new, dynamic, double-size issue, Death on the Black Coast. So here's a 100th issue that actually pays off for an anniversary issue. It's the death of Belit, a pivotal moment in Conan's life. and sort of culmination of everything we've been building up to, really for the whole series. Now, this is not the end of the Roy Thomas John Buscema collaboration, but it's in some ways it's kind of the end of like the classic period, only because, as we'll see next time, Roy Thomas only does another 15 issues and then he leaves, which is basically, it's the 10th anniversary of the series, so they have a big 10th anniversary issue, and then he quits finally. He's been working at DC for a while, and he finally leaves this, is working only at DC after issue 115. And there's a little more to it because he's also working on the movies and writing the scripts at that time. But we'll get to that next time. For now, we've got this, again, issue 100, the end of the storyline. So that's it. Conan number 58 to 100, the Belit, Queen of the Black Coast storyline. So let me know what you think down below. Again, I haven't read all of these. I've only read a few of them, to be honest, of the Belit, this Belit block. At some point, I definitely want to get to all of them and, read all of them. But for now, I know some of you have read all these. Please let me know anything I've missed or any interesting details that I might not be aware of. And post those in the comments down below so we can all see them. And thanks so much for watching.